Mark's in India now, on his way. No, Austria, then India. So we won't see him till before mid-December. Okay. Good evening. This is the Tibet Center, Kunshab Tarduling, a Buddhist meditation and study center. Kunshab Tarduling means place pervaded by seekers of liberation. The real liberation, not political liberation. And this is our twice weekly presentation of the Buddha Dharma. We are under the direction of Yungzin Ling Rinpoche and also Venerable Nicholas Vreeland. And all the prayers we say are on our website in the FAQ section. Scroll down to prayers in that area. If there's anyone for whom you want us to pray for who has passed away recently, put their names in the chat box as soon as possible, because there is a time delay at the end. And that's that. And when we say Suits of the Recollection of the Three Jewels, we remember them. So we'll start with the prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. We'll continue, and we have a lot of interesting things to cover tonight. I hope you'll be entertained. If not, well, it's your fault. Anyway, spread of the teachings prayer. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living there, together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness. May they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi which examines the dharmas, called profound illumination, and at the same time noble Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind, consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge, and since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future by means of transcendent knowledge fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, The mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tayata Om Gate Gate Parasam Gate Bodhisoha. O Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva, Mahasattva, should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound, transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, Asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the Blessed One. Should be noted, if you knew, that all these no this, no, they're qualified no's. You put in no inherent. Doesn't mean there's nihilism, no inherent. But for emphasis, they left it no, to overcome the assumption that things are normal. That's all. That's it. Refuge in Bodhisattva vow, it's called Generating Bodhicitta, which we recite 3 times. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So that sets the motivation for tonight's activities. So we're discussing this book, Beyond Religion, and tonight we have a very interesting section. Of course, I didn't mark the page like an idiot. But first, it's Pleasant Story Hour. This is a book called The Wisdom of Forgiveness. It's the Dalai Lama with Victor Chan. Victor Chan followed him around Dharamsala, etc., and was around when he was meeting different people, and he very intimate discussion with His Holiness Dalai Lama. So if you're interested, I don't know if we have a copy of this upstairs, but we should. So relax. This is a nice story time. If you have cookies, you can eat them. It's what page? I always give the page. This would be page 143 of this book if you were taking notes. If you have to turn it out, turn paper. The famous Korean scholar, Victor Chan's a good writer, so the famous Korean scholar, dressed impeccably in a black faux Confucian gown with high collar and long flowing sleeves, sat cross-legged before the Dalai Lama. It was early January 2002. We were seated on cushions covered with Tibetan fabric in the Dalai Lama's quarters on the top floor of the Tibetan monastery, his temporary home, during his stay in Bodh Gaya. So this took place in Bodh Gaya, not in Dharamsala. I was feeling slightly peeved. He's an honest guy, I like that. I was supposed to have had at least 2 interviews here with the Dalai Lama before I accompanied him to the pilgrimage site of Vulture's Peak. But the scholar Kim Young-ok, a Harvard-educated and host of a popular TV show on Confucius, had managed to arrange an audience the day before. A little baksheesh, maybe? Who knows? I'm joking. He had apparently impressed the Dalai Lama so much that he had been granted another interview that day. I had excuse me, I ruined the page here. I had one session 2 days early, and it looked like that was all I was going to get. This may be a silly question, the Korean said hesitatingly as he started his interview with the Dalai Lama. Well, Victor Chen was wrong because he got the best of interviews, as you'll see as the story progresses. A little spoiler here. He took off his black, brimless hat, one that resembled an American sailor's cap, revealing his shaven head. I guess that he was in his early 50s. Throughout your life, the scholar continued, his words running together, you have studied so much and disciplined your body so much, and you have had all kinds of experiences. You're a great thinker. Can you tell me something personal in your life, some enlightenment experience? I was surprised by the question. It was personal and impertinent, especially on only a second meeting. Still, I was interested in the answer. Would the Dalai Lama reveal something deeply personal to this virtual stranger? Discuss something that great religious masters rarely talk about? Would he recount his experience of spiritual awakening? The Dalai Lama leaned back on his cushions, his expression grave. That's a good sign. He's going to really come out with something. This body, now 66 years old, but my spiritual level, I'm very young, the Tibetan monk said. The Tibetan monk is the Dalai Lama. He's a simple monk. He paused to laugh uproariously at his own joke, his whole body shaking. But of course, the concept of impermanence and also the concept of emptiness, very powerful, very useful, he said, growing thoughtful. Especially the concept of emptiness. Kim took out a notepad and started scribbling. His Holiness goes on. According to Nagarjuna, emptiness means interdependency or interconnectedness. Don't forget. The Dalai Lama said, as he leaned toward the Korean, Nagarjuna was a 2nd century Indian master whose teachings provided the foundation for Tibetan Buddhism. Emptiness does not mean nothingness, the Dalai Lama continues. Emptiness is full, not empty. The realization of emptiness, knowledge of emptiness, I think I have some intellectual understanding. He's being polite. You never talk about your experiences in that culture. I think I have some intellectual understanding. Emptiness, you can also think of it as interdependence, helps us widen our view toward the world, our view toward one's own life. It really widens. It's very helpful to develop this holistic view. The Dalai Lama looked away from the Korean and spoke briefly in Tibetan to Lakdor, his translator. That's Geshe Lakdor. He's a very good lecturer if you ever sit on his sessions. Coffee or tea, Lakdor, sitting on the floor next to the Tibetan, asked the scholar. Anything, tea, okay. Maybe coffee, the Dalai Lama prompted helpfully. Yeah, coffee. Should have been espresso. See, they're being impolite. I got to talk to them. One Korean, Americanized by Harvard, the Dalai Lama joked. Okay, tea, the Korean responded. What the hell's going on? Yes, maybe I'm too Americanized. But even though I received my education in a foreign country, I am regarded as the most traditional man in Korea. That's very good, the Dalai Lama nodded. These are just clothes I designed myself, Kim said, patting his sleek black gown, but usually I wear very traditional clothes, never Western clothes. You think the Dalai Lama cares what he wears? Kim had brought along 2 photographers and a secretary to the interview. One of the young men had been quietly snapping pictures from the side. Kim now turned away from the Dalai Lama and spoke briefly to the photographer, who then moved behind the Tibetan monk so that he could better focus on his boss. The Dalai Lama was eager to go on with the interview. Now, emptiness and compassion, he told the Korea, paying no attention to the camera flashes. Of course, firstly, we understand these ideas at an intellectual level. Also, the positive sides of compassion and the destructiveness of selfishness. Then, eventually, there is impact on our emotions. Our emotions slowly change. That's the Buddhist way. Use reason, make use of the intellect. And then it affects the emotions. See, he's saying that. So, regarding compassion and understanding emptiness, I have a little experience. That experience certainly brought benefit. Great benefit. I have full conviction now that I have this small experience that if I practice further, even greater benefits will come to me. It's guaranteed. You develop these qualities, you acquire peace and happiness. Your Holiness, can you tell me something about emptiness? The Korean asked. I was glad that he, like Oprah and me, had difficulty with this concept. And His Holiness responds, there are two levels of reality. The Dalai Lama explained to his Korean visitor. One level of reality, you see, this is a table. He passed his left hand lightly over the low table between the two of them. Then he pointed to his mug of hot water, his preferred drink at all times during the day. This is water. Conventional reality, the Korean said. Now, how to prove the existence of this conventional reality? Dalai Lama responded. The Dalai Lama said as he moved the mug directly in front of him. This water exists. I see, I feel. This is water. He leaned closer to the table, peered into the mug, and jabbed the forefinger at it a couple of times for emphasis. He took off his glasses and bent forward at the waist until his face was just inches above the mug. On second look, still water. The Dalai Lama straightened up and put his glasses back on and pointed to Lakdor seated on the carpet to his right. Ask someone else. Yes, still water. Then we accept it. This is real. He's talking of conventional reality. So you got the idea. You talk about conventional truth, Kim Young-ok said. Yes, conventional truth, His Holiness says. But let's say all of a sudden I saw fruit juice instead of water. I saw this mug filled with fruit juice. Yellow. The Dalai Lama took off his glasses again. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand and bent forward to the mug once more. Then I look carefully. All I see is water. So this proves that the first perception was wrong. Seeing the yellow color was a mistake. When I take a closer look, the fruit juice was not there. The Dalai Lama put his glasses back on and studied the Korean for a moment to see if any of this had sunk in. He was saying that our everyday perception can be suspect. Physical defects like tricky lighting conditions can make us see things incorrectly. Another example. Due to my color blindness, I always see black. I don't know if he has color blindness, but I think he's making a point. He pointed to the mug and said to the scholar, today I see black mug, and this afternoon also see black mug. But then I cannot be sure. I ask someone, look, what's this color? If that person confirms this is black, then it's conventionally confirmed this is black. Conventional by convening on the idea. So that's the... He pointed to Lakdor and the two photographers who had accompanied the scholar to the audience. But if second person, third person, fourth person say this is yellow, then, although I always see this as black, something wrong with my eyes. Reality is not black. It is in this way I always try to find the truth, the conventional truth, through rational investigation. All right, so far should operate that way. The Dalai Lama was expounding on something dear to his heart, a scientific, no-nonsense view of the world. He had no use for wishy-washy, half-baked ideas. After all, this was a man who had studied logic intensively for more than a decade in his youth. What he was trying to explain was this. Most of us attach meaning and significance to everything as a way of understanding and interpreting the world. But our experiences influence how we see the world. To apprehend things without distortion, we need to investigate them with scientific rigor. We have ideas about the world, and that overpowers sometimes our perception, etc., especially in judging people. Okay, now let's look at ultimate reality, the Dalai Lama said. I thought he'd never get there. No, pointing a little finger to his mug. What exactly is it? The Dalai Lama leaned very close to the Korean scholar and stared at him intently. We're seeing color, shape, but if we take away shape, color, material, what is mug? Where is the mug? This mug is a combination of particles, atoms, electrons, quarks, but each particle not mug. The same can be said about the four elements, the world, everything, the Buddha. We cannot find the Buddha. This is His Holiness talking, I can remind you. So that's the ultimate reality. If we're not satisfied with conventional reality, if we go deep down and try to find the real thing, we ultimately won't find it. Thus, the Dalai Lama was saying, the mug is quote, empty. The term mug is merely a label, something we use to describe everyday reality. Don't throw that out, everyday reality. But each mug comes into existence because of a complex web of causes and conditions. It does not exist independently. It cannot come into being by itself of its own volition. For example, suppose I decide to make a black mug. To do this, I mix black clay and water, shape it to my liking, and fire the resulting mixture in an oven. Clay plus water turns into a mug because of my actions. But it exists because of the myriad different ways that the atoms and molecules interact. And what about me, the creator of the black mug? If my parents had never met, the black mug might never have existed. You get the idea of the really. Therefore, the mug does not exist independently. It comes into being only through a complex web of relationships. We could think on that for years. Not years. In the Dalai Lama's own words, and this is the key concept in his worldview, the mug is dependently originated. It came to be a mug because of a host of different factors, not under its own steam. It is empty. Empty is shorthand for empty of intrinsic inherent existence. Empty is shorthand for empty of intrinsic inherent existence. You'll see this on the front, never mind. Or to put it another way, empty is another word for interdependent. That has to be emphasized because people are empty immediately think nothing. Oh, everything's really... That's the problem. The word is a bad choice, I think. Empty of inherent existence or interdependent. Automatically, if it's empty of inherent existence, it has to be interdependent because it's there. So, all right? So the Dalai Lama's eyes never left the Korean's face. This guy's a screenwriter. I was struck by the intensity of his gaze. The photographer's clumsy movement around him and the loud clicks of the shutters had no discernible effect on him. Why should we care about emptiness? What has it got to do with our real lives? For the Dalai Lama, perspective is everything. And here's the kick. Much of our unhappiness, our suffering, I would say all of it, is caused by discrepancies between our perceptions and what is real. Let me say that again with a normal mouth. Much of the unhappiness, our suffering, is caused by discrepancies between our perception and what is real. For example, I see myself, this is Victor talking, as a distinct entity. I am different from my daughter, my wife, my enemy. Whether I love these people or hate them, I believe that I exist independently from them. Due to my lifelong conditioning, there is no doubt in my mind that there is a sharp distinction between myself and others. Here's another kicker. The idea of self-interest, of every person for themselves, makes sense from this perspective rather. So the idea of every person for themselves makes sense from this perspective. So what do we say? Get rid of that perspective, and then you'll have true affection for people. No? Yes? Maybe? Because that person is not different from you. However, if I accept the Dalai Lama's point of view, I see that my existence depends on an intricately linked series of events, people, causes, and conditions. If any of these things had been different, I would exist in different ways. If my parents had been born in Lhasa, I'd clearly be a Tibetan rather than Chinese. If I hadn't been kidnapped in Afghanistan in 1972, I might not have met the Dalai Lama. I don't know the story, and it's probably in one of his books. He's a prolific writer. Take the chance. From this perspective, self and others make sense only in terms of relationships. For the Dalai Lama, the essence, the crux of reality is the fundamental interconnectedness between people, and between people and things. This is how he views the world around him. For well over half a century, he has believed in the core of his being that his interest and your interest are inextricably connected. That's for sure, especially today, with environmental problems, everything. In a very tangible way, they intersect. It doesn't come to mind easily because we don't look for it. And we have another way of plastering the world with our version of reality, which is not there. So, and that is why he has devoted his entire life to the well-being of others. He calls it enlightened self-interest. Sometimes he says, the wise, selfish person. He is convinced that if he can be of help to others, he himself will be the first to benefit. He'll be a happier man as a result. He has no higher calling than this. The interview came to a close. For about an hour, the Dalai Lama had patiently explained to Kim Young-ok how he himself was transformed in baby steps over the years by using a sensible, logical approach to his spiritual practice. He underscored the importance of reason. He was emphatic that anyone can achieve genuine happiness by focusing on two fundamental precepts of Buddhism, compassion and emptiness. But in the end, the Dalai Lama chose not to talk about his own enlightenment experiences with the Korean scholar. However, boys and girls, in another chapter of this book, he does. So, but, yeah, it's a very good book. Where do you go through the other chapters? He's a good writer. He keeps your interest, more than my bumbling speech. What the hell? Now, ladies and gentlemen, in accordance with our marching orders, not really. We're on the part of education. What page? I marked the book, and then what did I do? Here's the page mark. That was for that. It's in the 90s, but hold on. Problem of greed. Educating Future Generations, page 93. And this is something that's very relevant. A lot of places where we can express ourselves. So, when modern education began, religion was still an influential force in society. So the inculcation of virtues such as restraint, modesty, and service was part of family upbringing and participation in a religious community, and could therefore largely be taken for granted in an educational context. Yeah, everyone was this religion or that. It was assumed. But we've gotten away from that. The main priority of modern universal education was therefore seen as imparting literary and technical knowledge. Today, however, the assumption that children will automatically be educated in ethics is no longer seems realistic. Religion no longer has the influence it once had in society, and strong family values, which in the past were often grounded in religious faith and nurtured within strong community identities, have also been eroded, often by materialistic values and economic pressures. As a result, the inculcation of inner values in the young is no longer something we can take for granted. If we cannot assume that people learn spiritual and ethical values at home or through religious institutions, then it seems clear that the responsibility of the schools in this area, spiritual and moral education, has greatly increased. So our responsibility to deliver this in the schools setting is increased. There's a problem there or not? And I think in traditional society, like you try to do this in Saudi Arabia, you're not going to get anywhere because everybody's one religion. But here, it's very polyglot, very diverse. Should the schools handle that or not? Who's a school teacher? Nobody.
Oh, I've been in the schools in the last year, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have. It's not a religious issue. Ethics is not a religious issue.
Now, in the old days, it was.
Well,
By default.
Yeah, but it was where you were exposed to it, but that doesn't mean that it inherently was, ethics is inherently religious.
No, we know that now, but it used to be that's where you learn, be good, do this, help others and all that. People don't go to church anymore. That's why I wrote this book, the church or whatever.
A lot of people still feel that if some all-powerful being did not tell you do this or I'll punish you, then there's no reason to do it.
But there's a lot of, I mean, I can remember when I was young, I had a friend who was always, she was angry. She was like one of the nicest people I ever knew, but she was always angry because she wasn't religious, and she said, why is it that people can't believe that someone like me wants to be good just for the sake of being good?
Have we got a book for her?
Well, no, she really believed that people had missed the mark by saying that you had to be affiliated with a established religion for that to be a part of your life.
Well, it seems to be that people have evolved into that position now. Churches are empty. You go to Montreal, there's warehouses full of Catholic statues. All the churches have lost a lot of their
Well,
pull, and
So, but that's also
here too.
that's also kind of a sad state of affairs because people lost faith in them because
Yeah.
they weren't as pious as they presented, and they ruined their own reputation.
Yeah, I think that happened when people started to look carefully at what was going on.
Yeah, and
It
people
was
got
about
disillusioned, and they lost their faith.
But they need something. Darren, by the way, you getting this?
Yes.
Oh, good.
But the other thing is that I don't think that enough people. I think that there is a way to teach school children the golden rule. Like it can be the golden rule without religion, and you can teach it as civil society, as the rules of a civil society, that we are bound together, the more perfect union approach.
Skip ahead. This has happened, right, Eugene? Your son in a Jersey school here.
I mean, what she's saying is that you present ethics as just like, instead of God telling you to do it, the law tells you to do it, and if you don't do it, we will punish you.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
When you're saying like as a civil society thing, right?
Yeah, but I'm
Like,
not saying that I'm not saying that you tell people to think that way, that they should do it or they'll get arrested. I'm saying use logic and understand that if everybody behaves this way, everybody benefits. It's not because you fear getting
Well,
punished.
yes, that's true. Yeah.
It's your motivation that's the issue, and you should not be motivated by fear. You should be motivated by logic.
So I can say that in my son's school, they don't motivate it. They just take it for granted that everybody agrees that this is the right thing to do.
So there's no logical or
They don't give
philosophical
them.
Well,
investigation.
they're young kids. He's in
it's
what, third grade?
So I mean, but I mean, they start from third grade, and the kids don't, generally speaking, ask why. They just take it for granted that being nice to others is the right thing to do.
Well,
They
when
don't justify it. They just say like, this is how.
So I was working with the special ed kids last year, and the thing you say to somebody is, you shouldn't do that. You see how they're sad. You don't like to be sad, so they don't like to be sad, and you shouldn't make them sad. And they teach them how to think
Right,
about it.
like cause
Right,
and
so,
effect.
so you're taking the approach of breaking down
Someone
the
say cause
barrier
and effect.
between them and the other person,
Ooh.
right? You're saying that other person's feelings are just like yours and they are just as important.
Yeah. Well, I'm not making a judgment about importance. I'm saying empathy.
Yeah, I understand, but I mean, the other person that you're talking to can always say, well, I don't feel their suffering, so what do I care? Right, I mean, that's the conventional answer to this kind
That
of.
I've never.
Well, let's see. The answers will be coming in the
I've
next
never
few
heard
paragraphs.
that
Can you
So
wait?
that's my point, is that
Oh, good.
at
I
some
got everyone
point
up in the air.
It's just taken for granted that this is the
We'll
right
get
thing
time.
to do.
Okay, let's see what he says. However, in an age of globalization and diverse societies, how we can meet this responsibility is no simple matter. If children in a given school, for example, come from diverse religious or cultural backgrounds, on what basis should the school conduct ethical education? And that's what you have right now, a diverse background as you can get, you know. To use a single religious perspective would be inadequate. In some parts of the world, religion is even excluded from the school curriculum. I think France does that, right? Somewhere. So how can schools give their pupils an ethical education which is unbiased and inclusive? So that's a good criteria, unbiased and inclusive. Whenever I speak at schools and university about the need for greater attention to ethics and inner values, I get very positive responses. This suggests that educators and students too share my concern. What is required is a way of promoting inner values which is genuinely universal, which can embrace without prejudice both agnostic humanist perspective and religious perspectives of various kinds. That's a tough nut. But that is the problem, I think. You know. There you go. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I learned so much. My sister's a school teacher. She was, and she left her job because it was incredibly difficult. But she teaches in a really rural area, and up in the mountains in California.
Ooh.
And a lot of this came up, and I think that sometimes what I experienced through her, at least, was that it was put on the teachers, because there wasn't infrastructure to teach ethics in any way, it was kind of put on the teachers to babysit the kids, in a sense, and to monitor their behavior and generate good feelings with the children. But they weren't necessarily getting it at home. And so it was too much pressure on the school system to then generate ethics when they weren't being taught it at home.
Yeah.
So she would have these children coming from, they're really high in the mountains in California, and so it would be coming from some of them very bohemian backgrounds, and then others really not, and a lot of gun owners, etc., because they're in a very rural place. And so while it's this really kind of beautiful, ideal setting, it kind of brought out these really hard topics that almost kind of wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
And so guns were a big deal. That was a big topic where everyone's in the same classroom, but one kid comes from a family that loves guns and is very aggressive about them. And then there's another kid sitting right next to him, comes from a family that doesn't own one gun. And for that to be in the air and for the teacher to be responsible to kind of steward those things is a lot of pressure.
That's insane. That is very
it's
tough.
Totally insane. And
It is.
and also is such a testament to teachers because they're like superheroes. But I also feel like if there was infrastructure in the school itself, it would take off this pressure from the actual teachers. And if there was less of this really intense divide between people, I think it probably pulls on politics in some way.
Oh, everything gets involved.
But if people were able to be in the same room and be civil, what I gathered was that often probably the parents of those children were not able to be in the same room very easily, and so it made it actually so the children that were coming to that same room were very hard to teach in the same room because their ethics were so
they're mirroring their parents.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's an interesting thing because I think it would be great for that to be heavier handed in schools, but it would probably need in the bones of the school it would need to be taught, not just flippantly pressured on the teacher.
Here's good news.
Yeah.
In Canada, in the autumn of 2009, I took part in an interesting dialogue on this subject and met many trainee teachers from all over the province of Quebec. Until quite recently, Quebec had a rather traditional and predominantly Roman Catholic society. In recent decades, though, like many other parts of the world, it has become increasingly secular, and with immigration has also become multicultural and multi-religious. To reflect these changes, the provincial authorities are seeking new ways of teaching ethics in schools, ways that are less reliant on traditional religious approaches. This has happened, by the way. Canada K-12 has what they call the secular ethics curriculum that they all learn in Emory and Stanford or whatever, and they get certified. They don't get extra pay, but anyway, they're certified. On specific questions, how to develop a syllabus, how to teach different age groups, I had little to offer, as these are matters for specialists in education, developmental psychology, and related fields. But on the general approach, I shared my view that in a secular approach to ethics, it is crucial that the basic principle be genuinely universal. So it's good. I also shared my view that many people can benefit from formal exercises in attentiveness. There's a nice neutral ground. And the cultivation of inner values. That's the tough one. It is with this in mind that I've elaborated some of these in the second part of this book. Agree, disagree, can't stand it. None of the above.
No, it's
Makes sense.
what what they would. I think the word is organize and codify. Like
Yeah.
if you're able
Organize
to,
and codify. What, yeah,
the subjects.
yeah,
And then if you lay it out and you present it as a logical collection of understandings with benefits, if everybody participates, then you get your buy-in, and then you're hopefully not dealing with a large percentage of children or young people who can't see the benefit. I mean,
Yeah.
if you get in a situation where you have people that can't see the benefit,
yeah.
that
yeah,
they're so
you-
terribly
they're not
selfish.
motivated, yeah.
For like it doesn't benefit
You
me
get them at a
directly.
young age, though.
So I think the one of the interesting things about the more like the Buddhist stuff that we learn, like more specifically Buddhist stuff that we would, is that there is a lot of it doesn't take the approach of like if everybody buys into this, everybody benefits. It takes the approach of this benefits you in particular.
What? You're saying the Buddhists?
Buddhism takes the approach that
Yeah.
acting ethically benefits you
Yeah.
in particular.
Yeah, because
Not
you're
just
connected.
society, not if everybody, but you in particular benefit from ethical
If there is a particular, but so that's very sneaky. It assumes, not that everybody's discreet, but it assumes that we are interconnected in a certain way.
So yeah, so it's
Or
like playing a game. Like you convince an individual that they're going to benefit, but in effect, the benefit isn't just them because everybody's
it's
connected.
also you, yeah.
Everybody's
The
connected.
benefit is universal.
So you're
I would
hoping
think.
that they
This
buy
is a
into
loose
it.
schematic.
You're hoping that people buy into it before they recognize that they
No,
aren't
that's
an
not
island.
that way. No, people would, it comes with a different message. The mind starts to structure itself differently when you introduce these ideas, I think. Nikki, by the way, said that this system has been K through 12 in Canada for a long time. So they've been able to study those who graduated from it and went on to life, and there's less crime in that group, less mental illness, etc.
That makes sense.
There are now statistics that bear this idea out. They've been at it a long time. Some schools, some school systems, I think, use it. Wisconsin or something, I don't know, but you could probably find this out. And I know there's a big program in Emory in the summer that teachers run down, they get certified, and then hang out their shingle, and
You know,
The benefits of the program is one thing, but like the methodology is
yeah, the methodology, there's specific things to use each subject in each grade. They have it all laid out. In other words, lesson plans.
Sure. I mean, so like His Holiness he talks about the personal benefits of ethical
Right.
behavior all the time.
Yeah, he has to.
Yeah, he
It's
talks.
the truth.
I mean, that's really the key point, is that it's the truth.
It's the truth.
You're not trying to like manipulate people.
No.
It's the truth.
Yeah. You have cause and effect operating, whether you believe in it or not. Well, negative karma is created by negative acts.
But and His Holiness, when he talks about it from a secular perspective,
Yeah,
he
yes,
likes to
right.
talk about how it makes him
Yeah.
happier, it makes him
Right.
calmer, it gives him better decision making.
Yes, that's true. You curb anger, you have a healthier life.
But
You
the
sleep
point,
better.
so those are benefits to him in particular, right? It's not benefit. It's a benefit to him in particular.
Yeah, or to anyone.
Sure.
You know,
Whoever
so
practices.
that is how he sells it. Are you happy when you're angry? No. So why are you gonna? So where did we leave off? Blah 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 blah. You met the train. On specific questions, I did the syllabus with that. Okay. On questions of pedagogy, I hate that word. It sounds nasty. It really does. I don't know why. I gotta feel. My only suggestion was and is to remember that when teaching ethical awareness and inner values, providing information is never enough, and teaching by example is of paramount importance. They'll figure that out right away. I mean, kids are. If teachers talk about the value of kindness, elaborating its benefits while failing to illustrate what they are saying through personal example, then students are unlikely to find their words compelling. If, on the other hand, teachers embody kindness in their own behavior by showing genuine concern for their students, they will make their point more effectively.
That's more or less what happened.
Of course, I do not mean to suggest that teachers should be too soft. Ooh, here comes the paternalistic rod. On the contrary, the best teachers are often quite strict, but for strictness to be effective, it must be grounded in concern for the welfare of the students. Saying this reminds me of my late senior tutor who was very dear to me. In Outward, that's Ling Rinpoche, who's now in reincarnated. I met the old one. I was scared of him because he was I didn't speak Tibetan either, so, but he had a sense of humor. He used to ask me to imitate people. He found out, you know. And I was appalled. He was imitating. He asked me. Saying this reminds me of my late son. In outward appearance, Ling Rinpoche was quite stern. When I was studying as a young monk in Tibet, and he kept 2 whips next to him during class. Yeah, they were into corporal punishment in those days in Tibet. You know, one was an ordinary brown leather whip reserved for use on my elder brother, and the other was a special yellow whip reserved for me. In fact, the yellow whip was never used, but had it been, I'm sure it would have been no less painful than the one used once or twice on my unfortunate brother. That's Mr. Norbo used to call him, Mr. Takser Rinpoche. He was a professor at Indiana University. He got out of Tibet before '59. He heard of the invasion through newspapers. He was living in New York City. Interesting guy.
Yeah.
Very funny. So he set up camp in Bloomington, Indiana. And he has a Tibetan center there.
Yeah, I played there before a few
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
Big musician town.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah.
College town. Cool.
Yeah, oh, it's a nice one.
I
Yeah.
went to college at IU.
You did?
Oh, wow,
I did.
cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I
They have
went
the
to that
library. It's open
center.
24 hours a day. It's always there. When they clean, they ask you to go down to a lower floor, and then you fit in. They go.
You went to the center?
I did, but I didn't appreciate it at the time because
Yeah.
I wasn't Buddhist.
Yeah.
So maybe planted some
They had an
seeds. I don't know.
elaborate library of Tibetan studies there.
They
in
did.
Sanskrit. That's where I met. What's her name? Yael Bentor. She was an Israeli student studying Tibetan culture. She's written a book now. She's like probably in her 60s now. This was in '85. I met. Yeah. So.
Cool.
I was really impressed. I said, this is the Ritz, and they bring you your books. You don't have to look for them, and you have a cart with all the books you want, and a little room to study in.
Aw.
And you could leave them there and go out, come back tomorrow, and it's still there.
Wow.
Yeah.
I gotta go visit. That's
I
awesome.
mean, we're reading on the subway going to school, and that's it. Boy, does my life. Okay. Anyway. Joking aside, teachers have tremendous influence on the development of children, not just in academic matters, but also as people. Different students have different needs, and teachers must be sensitive to this. Firm discipline may be good for some, while a general approach is more suitable for others. And I guess the teachers have to have that feeling in them to adjust accordingly on the front, improvise.
Yeah, definitely.
In my own case, to this day, I feel deep gratitude toward my tutors. Despite Ling Rinpoche's stern exterior and time, I came to appreciate the profundity of his kindness. In traditional Tibetan monastic education, there are many qualities admired in teachers, such as patience, enthusiasm, the ability to inspire, being energetic, and being good at presenting lessons clearly. But above all, 3 qualities are regarded as the great marks of a teacher, the marks of a great teacher: academic excellence, moral integrity, and kindness. So in Tibetan, they're Kei Sun Sang. Kei Sun Sang. All right? I am aware that teachers in modern society also often face tremendous challenges. Classes can be very large, the subjects taught can be very complex, and discipline can be difficult to maintain. Blackboard jungle lives. Given the importance and the difficulty of teachers' jobs, I was surprised when I heard that in some Western societies, teaching today is regarded as a rather low-status profession. That is surely very muddled. Small towns in Japan, in the supermarkets, the teacher's online, she jumps the line. Everybody lets her go,
So
let him
cool.
go.
Yeah.
That's very cool. That the
Yeah.
society recognized the value of the person. They don't pay them enough, but they still can get to jump the line. No, but it's something.
Perks. Yeah.
Yeah. Teachers must be applauded by choosing this career. They should congratulate themselves, particularly on days when they are exhausted and downhearted. This guy's been there. I don't know how he did it, but they are engaged in work that will influence not just students' immediate level of knowledge, but their entire lives. And thereby, they have the potential to contribute to the future of humanity itself. And he's ending this little section with the need for perseverance. Sondru in Tibetan. Some people are named that, like this woman Sondru. And I looked at, she's called perseverance. I guess some of the Bible people have names like patience and prudence.
Yeah,
and so,
yeah.
In the face of all the challenges of today's interconnected world, is my optimism about the future of humanity idealistic? Perhaps it is. It is unrealistic. Is it unrealistic? Certainly not. And he knows reality more than I do. To remain indifferent to the challenges we face is indefensible. If the goal is noble, whether it or not it is realized within our lifetimes is really largely irrelevant. That's a big point to think about. That's a meditation in itself. If the goal is noble, whether or not it's realized within our lifetimes is largely irrelevant. We must do, therefore, what we must do, therefore, strive and persevere and never give up. So that's a big point. The goal is reached in this life or not is irrelevant.
Yeah.
So he's concerned with your inner development. Because your mind, the intention you had to do this no matter what, is going to carry on. It's
Yeah.
not going to go away.
And it would be laced with ego to think that you have to finish it by the time before you're. Yeah.
Amen.
Right.
No, wrong religion. Wait a on, right on. No, that's the wrong era. I'm lost. I'm even older than you. That's disgusting. You're a child. That's a big point. So you think of that thing, all the little ramifications. What he's really doing is educating you for many lives ahead. I think that's my take. Whatever yours is. It's clever.
It seems like having a goal that is almost impossible to reach is a good thing.
It's not a corporate goal, that's for sure.
Well,
You
that's
better
why.
put it on the table.
Yeah,
Your ass is
that's
out.
why it's good. I think.
Yeah.
That's why it kind of proves in the proof is in the feeling, I suppose, the pudding. That if your goal is really big, it's actually something worth spending your time doing, and
You're
achieving it is not the point, but the process and the learning.
this sincere working toward.
Yes, and the contagious energy is good.
What we think does condition our mind.
Yeah.
Certain attitudes become real habits, become the way we perceive things. They may be totally wrong, but they're comfortable with us.
Yeah.
So this is something different. Hold that, whether or not it comes to fruition in this life, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So he's really thinking universally. He's thinking on the inner level, the reality of the non-physical, which is what's running the whole show.
I remember when he started, there was a time where he was, when he was giving interviews, he would talk about that, about all the religions, and then he would say, don't change your religion,
Oh yeah,
because all the religions have a similar lesson.
Right.
to a point. And they're all taught with the empowerment of the Buddhas. That's one of their truths that they hold.
Mm.
The Buddhas appear as Muhammad, as Christ, as this.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because certain people need that
I
approach
suppose
at
they
that
would- they
level of
wouldn't-
development.
I suppose that wouldn't
That's
really
it
go
on
over.
paper. You could.
Yeah?
Yeah. They teach with the empowerment of the Buddhas.
Huh.
Who knows we don't have that perceptive ability.
Yeah.
To see the underlying, what
Mhm.
is it? The executive program or the of the computer, the inner guts.
I wonder how that's
Because you're a data
received.
person, I have to give you that.
No, but I wonder how, if you were to tell somebody that, they might chafe at it.
Yeah, you don't say that.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta be really careful with.
When
which
you
is I
start
don't do
poking at people's
with your
religions.
big mouth, mine especially. Yeah, no, you can't. You have to really be.
But the truth is, nobody really knows, right?
They know. Certain people do know. I've seen certain things that convince me that I don't.
Mm.
But I have people I have faith in after a long, 45 years plus, 47, almost 50 years of Buddhist. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah 50 because I started at 30, so
Mhm.
I'm 80. So that's a long time. I don't know for myself as clearly as you see your hand. The Rinpoche should say, you have realization when you see emptiness directly as you see the hand in front of you.
Mm.
Well, What's that, 5? But another thing is the silent mind, where you're shutting down that constant friggin' chatter. You're over there. That kind of mind that starts to clear up when it sees things more clearly, is more at ease, and is more ready to work automatically in the right mode.
Yeah,
Creativity is like that. You
yeah.
shut down, and it starts to come in, I think.
I saw a needlepoint very recently at a thrift store, and I think it was probably aimed at Christians potentially, but it didn't have any Christian anything on it. But it said a day hemmed with prayer is less likely to unravel, which I thought was very
Very
sweet.
good.
Yes.
Very clever.
I bought it for $1.
Oh, that's
Well,
cute.
that's
It
a
was
good
very
idea.
adorable.
Very
But it
good.
was sweet how it could really apply to anyone saying any prayers. But yeah, it seems like it's so interesting to think of striving for goals that you don't know if you can completely accomplish, but it seems like if I kind of analytically think about it, if I was to say I'm only going to set goals that I know I can accomplish, it would really tailor in my options. And also if I said I'm not going to do anything that I don't know I can accomplish, it would really diminish my options. So if I look at going for things that are kind of endless and unknown, it makes sense in generating positivity, compassion, empathy, all the things.
Yes.
Yeah.
The mind could be limitless, by the way. The mind is not limited as the physical body is. I mean, you can only run and jump so high. That's the thing. That's
Yeah,
it. And the
right.
physical body is not going to be around forever.
Right.
Forget it. But the mind is limitless. You'd be surprised. It can encompass everything. So they say. The mind is very limited. You know. So, Darren, do we have any complaints? No names?
James Earl Jones.
Yes, James Earl Jones. What? What?
Oh yeah, James Earl Jones.
And Gaudreau we already prayed for, the Gaudreau brothers. And anyone involved in the, all those wars around the world, Middle East, Darfur, Ukraine, we can go on. Congo, South Bronx, no. Sutra of the Recollection, Noble Three Jewels. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha Bhagavat, Tathagata, Arahat, Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strengths cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats, who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted, it is completely perfect and completely pure, it completely purifies. The Bhagavad teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision, it is free from sickness, it is always timely, it directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavad, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction, it is pithy, it is trustworthy, and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Jnana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. So our final prayer is the prayer written for the quick return of Rato Chunga Rinpoche by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. It's called a prayer for a swift break return. On our website, of course. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop. Soul refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes. Guru Lozang Tsabwang Dorje Chang. Please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers. Lord of speech of the Victor Lostang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth.
His Holiness has shown us the logic behind discernment. What is therefore required is that we reflect on our behavior using our discernment to assess which of our actions are most harmful to ourselves and to
beings, the bodhisattvas, though impossible for you till cyclic existence's end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by Bodhicitta, drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings and wish-fulfilling jewel, return as the glory of Lozang Tenpei. Magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Srimata Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moonlight face. A couple of quick announcements. Our next Dharma class will be next Tuesday night at the University Settlement House, which, as of the 18th of October, will no longer be our venue in New York City. They are selling the building. They have another venue on Eldridge Street a few blocks away. We're going to check that out and see if we can move there. We've been there 12 years.
Yeah, it's a
Long time.
I remember.
She was there a long time ago and didn't know it. Most importantly, tonight at 11 o'clock, it's 8 o'clock LA time, so I figured it out. It's 11 o'clock here. Dalai Lama's live broadcast from Dharamsala. You go to his website, the official website of the Dalai Lama, it says when you Google it, that's the one you want. In the corner, there's a live webcast. You click on that, and it comes up. It's usually through YouTube or something, but it's there, nice and clear. Good translator on hand. So it's from Dharamsala, so you get all the juicy views of the foothills of the Himalayas. Yeah. So
See
that's
Nikki behind him going,
yeah. No, Nikki is in what the hell is it?
Gaia?
No, he's in Delhi. He has to do
Oh,
conference
right.
in Delhi starting tomorrow. Yeah,
Right.
he's hosting it. So. and then he moves to Bodh Gaya, then he goes, Nikki is always nomadic, Nikki, anyway, I shouldn't say this. That's the end of our broadcast tonight. Big love to all of you, thank